Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Show. I'm Ann Alvarez, parent coach, school counselor, and mom of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you sometimes get frustrated because your kids won't do what you ask them to do? Maybe you become really irrational, or you yell at your children, or you get frustrated or irritated by them. Well, parents, I know what this feels like. I also have struggled with my parenting, and I came from childhood pain. And that childhood pain really did affect my parenting because when we come from childhood pain, we do not know what is healthy and what is not healthy. And so this show is for you, parents. This show is about healing and it's about being a relational parent so that you can feel good about your parenting, build connection with your kids, and foster healthy relationship through communication and connection. Join me every week, every Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will delve into this parenting journey together. Thank you. I want to talk about childhood pain and I want to just kind of like give a description of what it is. I use the term pain because we may be carrying things that are from our childhood that might not be trauma, uh, but or abuse, but still some form of this childhood pain that I'm talking about. So basically, childhood pain is a hurt that we experienced in our childhoods that we carry with us, a messaging that we carry with us into our adult lives that hasn't been healed. And it can take many different forms. It could be uh, that maybe you were ignored or neglected as a child because your parents were working all the time. So they couldn't give you the emotional support that you needed or the connection that you needed. It may be that your parents were overly controlling and they didn't let you do things that you wanted to do. And so your experience is that of not having freedom, not being able to explore your interests. It could be that you were parentified. So your parents might have been um, working and asking you to take care of the other siblings and giving you an adult role in your childhood. And so you carry that feeling of responsibility and not feeling like you really had a childhood because you had so much responsibility placed on you. Your parents could have been overly critical and you never heard good things. You never got compliments. You didn't get validation when you were a child. And so you look for that in your relationships with others as an adult. And so these are all like examples of childhood pain that we might be carrying. And we also have like abuse, that you could be carrying the scars of abuse, that you have trust issues because someone that you loved abused you physically, emotionally, or sexually. And so you carry that, a mistrust of other people in your life. So these are all examples of childhood pain that we're carrying. And maybe we're not even aware that we're carrying this childhood pain, but it's there and it shows up. And often it shows up in our parenting because we will have triggers that will remind us of how we felt when we were kids. So it's so important that we understand that this childhood pain can show up and will show up in our adult lives because we carry it from our childhood into our adult lives. And it will definitely show up in our parenting unless we take the time to heal from that. Um, Ayanna Van Zant, she said many, many years ago, I heard this when before I became a mom. Her famous quote is, if we don't heal the wounds of the past, we continue to bleed. And it is really the truth. If we don't go back and try to understand the pain that we experienced as children, and try to heal from it, then we carry it. We continue to bleed in our adult lives and definitely in our parenting lives. And so that is the reason why we need to go there, even though it's painful, and to remember how we felt during that time in our childhoods. Okay, so that's basically childhood pain, and I know this because I came from childhood pain, and this is why I have this passion for this. Right, I came from a very controlling parents, top-down parents. Children were seen but not heard, and so in my childhood, I never felt like I had a voice because my parents didn't care what I thought, never asked me. I wasn't really allowed to speak my opinions. I didn't feel safe to speak my opinions because I would be um, reprimanded or I would be punished or criticized, right, if I gave my opinions. And so that was one aspect of childhood pain, but I also had abuse, and I had a mother that was a narcissist, right? Narcissistic. And so I was always, I was parentified. I had to take care of my mom when she was sick. I had to do a lot of the chores at home. She asked me to do the chores. She didn't really help me with the chores. And then I was abused by my dad at a young age in elementary school. So I carried a lot of childhood pain because of my childhood experience. And I will tell you that I know that it showed up in my adult life because I attracted unhealthy relationships because that was my lived experience. And that's the thing. When you grow up with childhood pain, you think you normalize that. You think that this is the way it should be. Being yelled at your parents or not having a voice in your home. You think this is normal. This is what it is. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I realized that this wasn't normal and actually it wasn't healthy. And uh, and because of that, I could change it. I could I had to go through the process of healing so that I didn't carry it into my further into my adult life. And I definitely didn't want to carry it into my parenting life when I first became a mom. So that quote, if you don't heal the wounds of your past, you continue to bleed, that quote resonated with me before I became a mom. And I really decided that I wanted to go through a healing journey to understand the pain that I was carrying so that I wouldn't repeat it with my own children. And so that was my journey, hearing this. So I said that I felt like I didn't have a voice. And then in my adult life, I didn't express my opinions. In fact, I sought opinions from other people because I didn't trust my own voice. And it wasn't until I was a lot older that I understood, oh, this is coming from my childhood because I was given the message that my voice didn't matter, my opinion didn't matter. But I'm not that child anymore. And my opinion does matter, right? I had to reframe it and change it in my mind. And that's something that we can do once we're aware where it's coming from, these messages. Because what happens is when we're being parented by our parents, uh, the way they're parenting us, like maybe yelling at us or reprimanding us or saying, no, don't speak. It's not your place to speak. Your opinion doesn't matter. When we do that, we actually have children, they have an internal dialogue from the way they're being treated by their parents. And they never blame their parents. This is what I've learned from counselings for so many years with teenagers. They never blame their parents. They always blame themselves. They say, you know what? I'm bad. I shouldn't have done that. I deserve to be yelled at. Uh, I, I'm not worthy. These are the messages that we carry uh, as children and that follow us into our adult lives because we have this internal dialogue that if we're being punished, then we're bad. If we're being yelled at, then we deserve it, right? And so that's why I feel so passionately about uh, changing the way we are with our kids because of this internal dialogue that they carry into their adult lives that can be really damaging and hard as an adult to carry that. And I say it's our job to teach our children how to be healthy. So we have to be healthy ourselves in order to do that. Now, how do you know that you're carrying childhood pain? Because the first step is awareness. Like you have to be aware in order to make any kinds of changes. And so um, awareness is, okay, why am I responding this way? Uh, how come I'm feeling this way about something? Okay, um, so your children will actually help you to understand if you're still carrying the pain and if you're getting triggered. Okay, so you might be like overly here's oh yeah here's some clues as to like what could be happening that you actually are still carrying childhood pain. Okay, so um, if you're really fearful or an overprotective of your children, that could be coming from your childhood, right? Because you grew up with fear. That was your experience. If you find it difficult to enjoy them, like you're tense, you're worried about what they're doing and how they're behaving in public, and you don't feel peaceful, and you react strongly when they do something wrong because maybe you were punished. You know, when you did something wrong, maybe your parents reacted really strongly and reprimanded you. If you're trying to control them, then that is a sign of carrying childhood pain because maybe your parents were always trying to control you, tell you what to do, expect you to listen. If you're always telling your child what to do, right? This is also childhood pain because we always feel like we need to direct our kids because that might have been our childhood experience. Or if you yell or you get angry really easily, you don't have patience. Um, Maybe you're overly sensitive to your children, like they do something and you think that it's about you. You personalize their words and their actions. And you say they're against me or why don't they like me? Right? This is childhood pain because that's how you felt when you were a kid. Maybe you're embarrassed when they misbehave, right? Because your parents were embarrassed. They were like, smarten up, stop acting that way. We're in public, right? This is also a sign of childhood pain. Maybe you're afraid when your children have intense emotions, like if they're having a temper tantrum or if they're screaming or they're swearing at you, then you're afraid. You're like, what is going on? This is strange because this might have been also your experience as a kid. Or if you don't feel like you're loved, or you feel like uh, you don't have the skills, or you're unconfident in your parenting, that could come from childhood pain as well. This feeling of not being adequate, not having strength for this, not having confidence. If you don't feel worthy, or you don't feel like your kids appreciate you, right? That is also a clue as to perhaps you are carrying this childhood pain. I will share with you when I was a new mom, with my first one. My first one's old now; he's 24. Uh, and I made a lot of mistakes with him because I was still sorting out and healing from my childhood. But I was controlling with him. I was directing him a lot and telling him what to do. And here's the thing with kids is they will help us to change. So my oldest, when he was probably around 9 or 10, he said to me, "Mom, can you please ask me and not tell me? Because when you tell me, I don't want to do it. But when you ask me, then I want to do it." And then I realized that I was repeating this controlling, telling kind of parenting that I grew up with. And I knew that I wanted a relational parenting. I wanted to be a relational parent. I wanted us, my son and I, to have a good relationship. And me demanding was getting in the way of us having a good relationship. So he verbalized it to me. Thankfully, he felt safe enough to verbalize that to me because I didn't feel safe to verbalize that with my parents. So he felt safe enough to do that. And then I changed. I asked. And I have been that way ever since, asking, not telling, because I know that it doesn't work well with our kids to always be directing and telling them. But asking them is inviting, it's a different feeling when you're being invited than when you're being directed or tried to be controlled, right? And kids, like nobody likes to be controlled. We don't like to be controlled as adults, and our children are the same. They don't want to be controlled. They want to be invited, part of it, right? Um, so so that's something that I learned from my child, and your children will teach you if you can keep like a safe, open relationship with them, then they will tell you the things that you're doing that could be coming from your childhood that is getting in the way of a really good, strong relationship with your kids. And I talk a lot about relationship because um, you want to have a strong relationship with your children uh, because you didn't experience that maybe in your childhood. And when we are relational with our kids, then we're not going to have these battles. We're not going to be um, having children that are going to do bad things. I mean, they may do some bad things, but at least if they have a safe environment at home to talk to you about it, um, and get your help, then they will feel supported. Okay, so let me just go into a little bit about healthy relationships, okay? Because I didn't grow up with healthy relationships, so I had to learn. And this is the thing with childhood pain is that if we didn't experience what is healthy, then maybe we don't know what is healthy. If we grew up with yelling, then that's normal, right? And so then we just continue that cycle with our kids. But I'm going to tell you that there are three components to a healthy relationship. And these are the three things we need all three. These are the three things our children need to be taught and we need to model to them so that they know this is a healthy relationship. Okay, so the first thing is that they are seen. So they're acknowledged when they come home from school. We're like, "Hi, how are you, honey? How did your day go?" They are important, an important part of the family, and so they need to feel like they're seen. And the second thing is that they feel heard. Like I shared with you that I didn't feel like I had a voice. We need to allow our children to be able to speak uh, how they feel about things, what their opinions are, share stories about their lives, right? Because that is bonding, that's connection, that's healthy. And then the last thing is to feel supported. So if your children are wanting to try things, that we're not letting our fear get in the way. Okay, I will tell you, I do have fear, parent fear. I think it's really normal for us to feel fearful, right? Especially if we grew up in a very overprotective environment. My parents were very overprotective of me as well, me and my brother. And and so I do carry this parent fear. And my oldest is he's an adventurer and he does a lot of things that scare me. You know, he'll go on hikes by himself, he'll go on trips by himself. He's going on a trip actually by himself. Um, but he's 24 now, but next week. And yeah, so I do have this parent fear. Is something going to happen to him? What's going to happen? But parent fear stifles our kids. And I recognize that. I recognize that it stifled me from doing anything adventurous. So we have to, yes, I will. I will repeat after this. We have to check in our fear because we don't want our children to to be stifled and to not live fully, right? And so when I think of my son, what kind of man I want him to be, I want him to be fearless and bold and confident. And if I'm putting my fear on him, like, don't do it, don't go on this trip by yourself, then what, I'm not creating that man. I'm not helping to foster a confident, bold man, right? And so that's what helps me to put that parent fear in check. Okay, the three things, the three components of a healthy relationship: that you feel that you are seen, that you feel that you are heard, your opinions matter, you can speak openly in a safe environment about things, you can express your opinions, even though you know there may be disagreement. Okay, that's healthy. And the last one is to feel supported. Okay, this is with couples too, right? This is all around these three things we need from each other in a family dynamic, right? To feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel supported. And then you know the relationship is healthy. And we can also teach this to our children with their friendships, because they may have friends that are not uh, hearing their opinions, ignore them, right? Tell them their ideas are bad, right? So they're not supported. So I also do teach this to my teenagers that I work with. Is that a healthy friendship? Because these are the components of a healthy relationship, and one of them is missing. So it's so important that we know that these are the three things that every relationship needs to be healthy, uh, because then we can teach that to our kids, and then our kids will attract healthy friendships, right? And relationships in their adult lives. So important that we model it and that we teach it to our kids. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is personalizing our children's behavior, because I think that's really a huge a part of what we carry in our childhoods. I remember when my oldest got sent to the office. Now, I was teaching at the school my son was going to, and I think he was like grade one, maybe grade two. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly, but I remember seeing him in the office, and I was like, "What are you doing in the office?" I was thinking to myself. And then I was like, I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the school that I'm teaching at, and he's in the office and he got in trouble. And then I just had to stop for a moment, because I realized that I was making it about me and not about my child. I was making it about me because of my childhood pain. Like, oh, it's embarrassing. Maybe your parents were like, what you're doing is embarrassing, right? So it helped a lot that I stopped and thought about, why am I being embarrassed? He is his own person. He's allowed to make mistakes. It's okay if he gets in trouble by, the teacher. That's okay. That's learning. And then to have the dialogue with your child. So what happened? This is relational parenting, right? So what happened? I saw you were in the office. Like, oh, I was doing this. I can't even remember the story, but I just remember how I felt at that time. But then because I stopped myself from personalizing, I was able to have a conversation with him. And it never happened again. Like, he was never in the office again. But maybe if I had given into the personalization and gotten mad at him and said, you embarrassed me. Like, this is my school too. Like, how come you are doing that? Then that's shaming him and making him feel bad about himself, right? And so that's why we have to change what we experience in our childhoods, because we don't want our children carrying these messages that mom's disappointed in me, and I'm not good, I'm not worthy, right? This is why we have to be aware. When we're aware, then we can totally change the way we are with our kids. And yeah, feel free to ask questions as I'm going along here, because I really don't mind being interrupted. If you have any questions about this, because I know this is big. This is this is big stuff. Um, so yeah, so just Yeah,
Right. I put a few questions into the chat if you can see them. If not, let me know and I can repeat them to you.
yeah, I can't find the chat. I'm sorry. I don't see the chat where it is.
Okay. Do you want me to? I can give you a couple
Yeah,
of
you I would
shows.
love that.
Our first question was, can childhood pain cause physical and mental pain?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any kind of emotional pain can cause physical pain. We're all connected, right? So I know my youngest is very sensitive. And so if he's nervous about things, he will get a belly ache, right? When we're stressed, we might get a headache. I get migraines when I'm really stressed. So our body will tell us things are not right. So absolutely, physical pain will show up. What was it? Physical and what else?
Mental.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Because you can have anxiety because of things that happened. I give the example of if your parents were really uh, had high expectations of you, like they didn't want any marks lower than a B, let's say, or an A, and you had that pressure to perform, then that is something that could lead to anxiety and perfectionism. And those are both not healthy, right? It's not healthy to have chronic anxiety or perfectionism because then you're never going to be happy with anything you do because it always has to be perfect. So we have to understand, oh, that's where it's coming from, that this perfectionism, because my parents expected me to perform and do well, not make any mistakes. Okay, was there another question?
Yeah. The next question is, what if you've avoided this pain for many years and it keeps leaking out and showing up unexpectedly? What are the solutions?
Okay, I want to give you some relief. Sometimes my pain still shows up, even though I consider myself healed. Uh, the key is to be aware. The key is to say, to question yourself. Okay, so I shared a post on my social media recently. A friend was saying, oh, like you're beautiful, right? Like, don't you think you're beautiful? And I'm like, no, I never think of myself that I'm beautiful, right? And then I went home that night, I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, Anne, like, why don't you think you're beautiful? What happened in your childhood? I was giving a little counseling session to myself. And I realized that that messaging came from my childhood, that my mom always praised my cousin for being so beautiful. Oh, your cousin is so beautiful. She's so beautiful. And she never said that about me. So I never heard those words. And so then my identity wasn't that I was beautiful. My identity was another thing, was like, okay, she's competent, she's a go-getter, she's career-minded, but she's not beautiful. And so I realized that messaging came from my childhood. Okay, once we understand that this messaging is coming from my childhood, but I'm not that child anymore. And my mom doesn't define me, I define me. And yes, I am beautiful, right? This is how we change the dialogue that we have. But for sure, it's going to leak out sometimes, and that's okay. It's okay for it to leak out. It's just, we have to just say, hold on a second, where is this thought coming from? Why am I feeling this way about myself? And then go back, maybe, oh, yeah, this is what happened. This was my experience. Okay, but I'm an adult now, and I don't have to think this way about myself anymore. Okay.
Next
And
question. Yeah, the next question is, as we heal our childhood traumas while parenting, how do we repair our relationship with our kids age appropriately, knowing that we are still in the process of healing?
okay, so I think we have to be humble. Like I never heard apologies from my parents, but as a parent, I apologize to my kids. I will say to them, you know what? I was stressed and I overreacted, and I want you to know I love you, and I'm sorry that I did that. I'm going to really try hard not to do that again. Uh, this is humility, and this is building relationship. Like we're modeling to our kids, it's okay. We're human. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to try again. And they can also make mistakes, apologize, and try again, right? This is the messaging that we want to leave with them. We have to reconcile. Now, and make an effort to do better next time. Don't keep repeating it because they're not going to believe you then, right? They're not going to believe that mom's really sorry. So we do have to step back and say, like, I want to be different, and I'm going to make an effort, conscious effort to change it. And I always say, start with a feeling statement. You know, honey, I'm sorry, and I didn't want to hurt you, and I apologize for hurting you. I realize that was wrong. I want us to be good and feel good around each other. I'm going to really try hard not to do whatever you did again. But I need your help too. Like if I am doing it, maybe you can give a sign like, Mom, you're doing it again, right? Like get help from your kids also, because they can help us to change, right? If they feel safe enough with us. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Um, should I take this question or is there another one? Hello, parents. Thank you for joining today. You know, parenting is tough and we need all the support we can get. My goal and my mission is to help parents. So reach out for support. I do parent coaching. I also have a course on Teachable that will teach you how to connect, how to communicate, and how to heal the pain that you've endured as a child. If you want support, please message me. All my links are provided with the show, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks for joining today. Take care, parents. You know I love you.